Hello. We
Hello.
made it. We made
We're
it.
here.
Yeah.
We're here. 2:48.
Oh,
I guess
8:48.
8:48.
Yeah. Next time you can you guys can make a little bet on it. One day, guys. One
Yeah.
day when I'm
One
not
day.
scared of the internet all by myself, I'm just going to go live and Tali will just show
I'll
up.
have to, that'll really bring the shame. Maybe that'll properly pressure me to be on time. I'm trying to think,
Yeah.
what's my excuse today? Well, my real excuse is that I just didn't set an alarm. I was just sleeping. So I woke up like 30 minutes ago. I also, I thought daylight savings happened. Wasn't everyone just talking about daylight savings? When does that happen?
Wow. Words. I think it happens. No, it
Soon?
happened. No, it happened.
When?
It happened in March, and then it happens again in November.
Oh, so we're
Or
fresh on
something.
this one?
Yeah, because then we're 5 hours apart, and now we're 6 hours apart.
Oh, so that would have worked in the other direction. I was part of me was like, oh, I get an extra hour today. It wasn't true, obviously, but I might actually be also counting the clocks in the wrong direction. So,
Yes,
never
'cause
mind.
yeah, we have 6 hours difference, and then when it
Right now,
does,
yeah,
whenever the time change happens,
it goes to
we have to
5.
5 hours difference. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm not sure.
yeah.
It shows
But
up on my calendar. I don't have to think about it. So.
yeah, I was running around to get ready. My wife asked me to make her a sandwich, and I said, I can't make you a sandwich. I have a stream to get to. The people are waiting. And she was like, what do you mean people are waiting? She had a hard time fathoming that people are here. Real people are here watching us live right now. But we are so appreciative for all of you who are joining us on this Friday, May 29th, 2026.
Yes.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah. A lot continues to happen.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple things that we want to cover and that we're trying to avoid. We're generally trying to avoid the Destiny and Connor stuff, although I can't promise that I won't say anything throughout the conversation. We want to talk about the Ryan and Pisco debate. I would like to spend some time talking about the soy pill versus, I already forgot his name, the Lockheed liberal guy.
Lockheed liberal, yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. And I also, Brad Palumbo put out, just for some, it's funny, I always like try to avoid going too deep down the trans rabbit hole, but in an attempt to not talk about the Destiny and Connor drama, maybe I'll just talk trans stuff instead, because Brad Palumbo put out a conversation or debate, he's been hosting these like debates, whatever, that are pretty good, pretty fun, between Blair White and a trans activist. That was a fun watch. So
I saw the thumbnail of that.
Okay.
Wherein the title was, I am a biological woman, or something to that effect.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, it's that argument.
Yeah. But it was, there's more nuance there. So maybe we will touch on that a little bit. Yeah. So those are just a sprinkle of the things that went on. That did Wick stream today? I was sleeping, so I'm not sure if I missed it.
I did not see a Wick stream. I don't think he did.
Okay.
But I was like, I took a minute and was like, watch some Netflix for a little. Yeah.
Some scripted drama. Yeah.
Some scripted drama, because I was seething before. So
yeah. Yeah. We might have to touch on some of it, to be honest, just based on my self-control. That's right. Wick did say he was going to take a long weekend, but
that's what I thought.
He was DMing me that he was like considering going live. He was, yeah. So anyway, that I wasn't sure if I just missed it, but that's good to know. Schroeder. I want to bring my dogs
on the couch.
Props. Yeah.
He was like digging. So
let me grab my remote so I can buzz my dogs over here.
Buzz them over with their shot collars.
Yeah, exactly. Where should we start? Do you want to start with Ryan and Pisco? That's like the freshest one that happened last night.
Yeah, let's do that. That was last night. They were on Modern Day Debate. Was that it?
Yes.
Yeah. And this was a court packing debate. That I don't know. I was like really looking forward to it, right? I wanted to hear his arguments.
Too.
Yeah.
You and I were saying this to each other like in our messages just when we were talking about like that marketplace of ideas and how that we were like, oh well, can't wait for Ryan to debate this. Yeah. And I expressed this in his chat today. I don't think this is very harsh criticism. I wish he did engage with the prompt more. I think I think this will speak to Chipingro because he's our little softy here. But like, I really want us to stop trying to only pander is the wrong word. I don't mean to imply anything negative with that, but I want us to try to persuade and compel people, right? And not just kind of speak in service of the people who already agree with us. And I fear that is kind of what happened yesterday. And while I completely agree with Ryan's framing that Pisco's that they are blatantly, explicitly, they're almost not hiding it, that their intention is to lock Republicans out of power, that he does want to pack it 4, not 1, not 2, right? So I agree with Ryan on all of that, but it is such an important topic that Ryan is correct. And Pisco again was downplaying this. It's not just Ro Khanna who's calling for this right now. This is gaining more popularity. It's Brad Lander in New York. It's Kamala Harris talking about it in her No Bad Ideas brainstorm session, right? So this is actually an idea that is picking up steam. So I agree with Ryan on all that, but that's what makes it such an important topic, that someone like Ryan is so uniquely positioned to defend and to argue for. And I don't know. It was frustrating to me because I think, again, as someone on Ryan's side of the debate and of the personality divide and all of that, hi Wick. I think Pisco got the optical W. I think Pisco successfully made it look like Ryan didn't want to engage with the prompt because then Ryan would have to agree that a 1 or 2 justice packing would be okay in a way that a 4 justice packing wouldn't. And I think Ryan just would have won the debate, and so again, I think if anything, I'm biased towards Ryan, but that was my honest opinion of watching it. Was like, and I understand his intention with the debate. I get that too, and so it's not like he failed or something, but I don't think I don't know that it had the effect. Again, it was unsatisfying for me as someone who I like to parrot Ryan's points because he is so compelling. It's like I was tuning in to get the master class of how to argue against court packing, basically, right? Because I have all these intuitions about why it's wrong, right? And stuff that you and I talked about in our last stream. But that's how I generally
and I don't necessarily think it's just parroting his points. I think what Ryan does, especially because he has a legal background, is he begins to help build a good narrative, a good argument for why it's wrong, and can provide some more legal backing on it that then we could go look into to understand more, or anybody else could. So I think that there's people, especially in the space, who when these debates are starting to happen, help frame the arguments better, or help kind of create the playing field. And I was really looking forward to, I guess, some of these points that Ryan would make that would help kind of, everybody else making the argument and the case against it, because I think that Pisco's been debating this quite aggressively, and I don't know that he's won on all of like the merits of the debate, but he's been very aggressive in it. So it's giving like optic W's, even if it's not like a win, like in, you know, on the prompt or in substance. And there was one other thing, and I mentioned this to you, is I get what Ryan was trying to do, but I think my biggest criticism would be like, if you're going to be mean and you're going to be an ass, like he was saying, that was his like tactic going into it, then
It was
you
to
have
go
to be
Pisco mode.
Yeah, you have to be a lot meaner. Like you have to be meaner. Like you have to be a fucking ass. And
yeah, he wasn't exactly mean.
He it was a different and more aggressive style than he does normally. But if you're going to try and get that like fuck you, I'm an asshole type of vibe going, you need to, I think it's got to be a little bit more forceful, especially against somebody like Pisco, who can get very nasty in a not heated debate against, you know, somebody who's not even that being that forceful against him, like we saw last week.
Angrily loaded is hilarious.
Yeah. I used to have a tattoo, guys, that said, "Anger is a gift," because of course I did.
Zero fucks. I didn't see Rob's critiques after, but it sounds like, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Basically, I wouldn't necessarily even frame it as it went on for too long, but maybe that fits kind of perfectly into what I said again in Ryan's chat earlier. If he were here, you know, this is all stuff we're Team Ryan, right? So we're having this conversation, but yeah, it's like there was plenty of time in the debate to expose Pisco for the tyrant that he is trying to be, right? To expose his true intention, to quote him. I think that is correct. I think it's correct to quote, because again, that's part of like, that would be part of my case against him too, right? Like all of those things were acceptable, but he could have also engaged with the, because I even think like, so like even the marketplace of, I know you and I differ a little bit on how we perceived that. Like I don't think that was necessarily an optical W for him, because he chimped out so hard. Like maybe that's just for me, maybe that's my sensitive lady parts reacting or something, but when I see someone just like screaming, cursing like that, to me that's not a win. That almost like that it almost signifies a loss, whether that's justified or not to me. But
I think for people who agree with them, though, would look at that more like a win. You know what I mean? So I would be hoping to see like a win that even people who are inclined to agree have to start questioning things a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Or they're scrambling a little. That's all.
Yeah. And well, QC John says, I'm not gonna lie, I could have died a happy man if Ryan just kept up with the yes or no questioning. I shot beer out of my nose the first time he said it. Yeah, listen, again, it's funny, and there was space. I think there was just plenty of time for all of that, and to again, I think Pisco was able to draw out that optical W there, because he did ask like 12 times at a certain point, you know, to like address that. And there were just, I think, like tactful ways for Ryan to address it, even to dismiss it and still try to move it. And no, I actually think it aided Ryan's posture when they got into like the behind the scenes discussion at the end, where they were saying, you know, we had a discussion about the prompt and you knocked off the one justice, and Ryan was like, yeah, well, I said, you know, I'm going, you know, I don't really care how you interpret this, I'm going to talk about like, you know, what you mean, what your plan is. So I think Ryan actually, like, that works for what Ryan was trying to do in the debate, and you can still just engage on that point. So yeah, for me it was I was disappointed as a viewer, again, back to all the reasons that we kind of stated at the top, which is I really want to have these like these functional layman's arguments for against court packing, because I do think that it's a really big threat.
Yeah.
So I was left wanting.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm not like, these are not like huge criticisms of Ryan. Do you know what I mean? He's still like very fun to watch. This is just like, if I'm finding things wrong, like those would just be the things that I would find wrong. But like, again, yeah, I don't know. And he may have like gotten and did what he wanted to do out of it. So that's all good too. And hopefully there will be more discussion coming up in the next little bit about like the arguments, you know what I mean, that should be put forth, that can be put forth in these debate spaces against court packing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, and listen, like he obviously like rattled Pisco, because you know Pisco goes and like pulls his chat on who won. You know, it's like, and listen, do I think there's a skew to the modern day debate audience? I do. Less of a skew, frankly, than Pisco's chat or Ryan's chat for that matter. I actually think Pisco's chat is probably like the most homogenous in that way compared to the three audiences, I guess, right, of modern day debates, Ryan and Pisco. And it's so funny at the end, Pisco's like, oh, he's like about to reveal the results of his poll, and he's like, oh, I'm not even gonna, you don't want to hear the number. And it's like, oh yes, because Ryan's gonna be so upset that your audience thinks that he lost the debate, right? So
of course they think he lost.
He got under Pisco's skin, like, you know, that was like fun and whatever, but yeah, I don't know. For me, and I get it too. Like, in fact, I think he made a better defense of last night's performance today on stream with Connor than he did kind of like in the stream last night. And again, I really do get it that Pisco, there is like a dishonesty in Pisco, like specifically wanting to debate the 1 or 2 justice pack when he explicitly wants a 4 justice pack and beyond. And I think it was right of Ryan to bring up what are seemingly unrelated topics, such as he called it, packing the Senate, right? Adding states. Like, I think all of that was good and could have been done while still engaging more with the prompt, because he's just obviously capable of engaging with the prompt. That was what was frustrating for me as a viewer. Yeah. So
I heard some of it. I had to, I was like running around this morning. So but yeah, I agree.
Of the Ryan and Connor stream. That's what you mean, this morning?
Yeah. I've been.
Yeah. I popped out of that conversation to watch Hutch.
Yes, I was
to watch Hutch watch Connor. Yeah.
I had therapy today, so I was like
because of all the YouTube drama.
Because of all the YouTube drama, guys, I had to hire a therapist to go talk it over. Could you imagine? Jeez, no, that's not why. It's because I'm fucked up in the head all on my own. But like watching it on my way there, and I was like, okay, at least like you get like the sanity check from Hutch, who's like so completely sane and normal and nuanced and just moderate on, you know what I mean? So it's like it kind of like you could listen a little, and then immediately it's like, oh, okay, like somebody else is I don't know, like reinforcing that like what is normal and correct ways of
I agree. Hutch's commentary was a breath of fresh air and a little bit of a sanity check. Yeah. And it's also funny because I'm just like watching this too, and I know we're supposed to be avoiding talking about this, but when I have these conversations, I'm just like reminded of the ways that I don't fit in with a traditional conservative. You know, I'm like, okay, here's my libertarian.
Yes,
this is where I drop below the axis, right, and don't just keep sliding, but or don't go above or whatever. And maybe we'll I'm trying to respect mostly your desire to avoid this, Kay. So you can,
we can if we're here, we can do it, and then yeah.
I kind of want to avoid it too. Yeah.
So here, I'm just gonna say one thing. Okay, I don't care about.
Hi, Ryan.
I don't care if Connor is right about Destiny. That has nothing to do with my analysis. Okay, so even if everything about Destiny is true and granted, I just think the way he's going about doing things is unethical to me, and I have a problem with the moral grandstanding while doing things that I find morally objectionable. And I don't care about Destiny. It all could be true, but I don't know that you can call out immorality while being immoral. And we all know Destiny's the fucked up friend who does too much drugs and has too much sex. And so we know how to characterize him and place him into that box. And if you want to be like the sane, wise friend, then there's expectations of you. And I feel like those have not been lived up to. And I just don't like the constant dragging in of other people and the constant denigrating of women and certain things that I'm just finding difficult to listen to. And the conversation, this is the last thing, and then I'll stop. It's like the same conversation is happening over and over with not a lot added to it. And that feels very like mudslinging, like rolling around in the shit to me. Like, say it once, fuck off, peace out, you're done.
Yeah.
But it seems to be having the same conversation over and over, and I'm not sure for what end. And
yeah. I'm like,
thank you.
I'm dancing on eggshells a little bit, only because again, this like the sexual degeneracy in question is obviously gives people the heebie-jeebies and stuff. And I'm gonna say here what I said in Hutch's chat, and I mean it tongue in cheek, but I mean it also. Like, let he who has not watched a stepmom Pornhub scene cast the first stone. I know I can't cast that stone personally, not trying to overshare, but yeah. But I think like in Connor's defense, because even I said like on our stream last week that like Connor was raped by the Snarkers, and by that I mean like, auditorily raped or whatever by their narrative. And I kind of take that back. I think like, because I think it's Connor's defense of himself in that regard, I think, is actually accurate. Like, this is actually his disposition. He has been this way publicly for years. This has been the stance that he held. He has a much less tolerance for I don't even know what to call all of these things. Like, degeneracy kink seems a little like flippant. Kink, sure, yeah, kink. Right. Yeah. And so I think in Connor's defense, I think that's all true. In Connor's defense, now, I don't know that we all should have heard that letter that he wrote to Destiny in November, but that is evidence that he did like go to Destiny with this stuff privately at some point. So I think all of these things, like, I think Connor's intentions, I think, are largely pure if misguided. But then with all of that said, I'm really, is disturbed a strong word? I'm put off by the exposing of Brit and Devil in this way when they just like both obviously don't want to be involved. I think there is a flaw in his logic of like, well, these things they're public because how did I know about them? And it's like, well, you knew about them because you are a public figure. And so one of these private people who was in duress at the time reached out to you, but didn't make it public. So this still was not in the public domain. And like, and you were sent the information because you're his friend. Like, so yeah, I think it's just very ugly. I wish I don't think that it needed to be handled this way. I kind of agree. Like you could have I think Connor drawing his line there and whatever is totally acceptable. Yeah.
Of course.
And I wish it just would have moved on that way. And I think, frankly, something I said this to you in DM, but what I find kind of the most damning is like Connor says, I'm not a snarker. I'm not going to become a snarker. And by the way, I believe him. I do believe him. That's not his interest on the internet. He's got way deeper interests and hobbies and all of this stuff. I don't think that's what's motivating him. But he said like what he did get from the snarkers was the confirmation that Britt was the same person who wrote into Mr. Girl's show. And what I said to UK offline was, to me, that's just more. So you got more evidence that these people spend all of their offline time stalking people, stalking Destiny's sexual associates, because that's what that is evidence of. And and these people are not public figures in the way that, like, for all of the things that people would try to claim about Destiny, of like, he's these mentally ill women, quote unquote, that he brings on stream, and then he keeps off stream. That wasn't the case with Britt. Like, these people just did not make themselves public in this way. And so I think it's not fair, it's not right, it's ugly to make it public in this way. Yeah, I don't know. These are my general thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this stuff because I don't want to, and I don't want to split our audience here either,
Yeah.
But we
always
and we try to keep it real here,
Yeah. And like I know the most of you guys who I know from Connor's chat, from the COG, and I'm bummed right now, and I haven't been watching because I'm like angry, and I don't want to get like so angry that like I never come back. Do you know what I mean? It's like, got to take a breather and like stop being pissed about it. Because also, like, there are certain things, and this is what I realized today, it's like, oh, I get like really mad when I'm seeing like this woman be dragged into this and used like that. And this is like a me thing also. This is like, oh, I'm like, I have like a personal offense to this that goes deeper than like just watching somebody on the internet do this. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something happening like in me, that because I feel very strongly about that. I shouldn't feel that strongly watching somebody on the internet, while I'm also saying at the same time, this person shouldn't feel so strongly about something that they're, like the irony is not lost on me. But like, so I'm like, okay, I think I just need to like take a minute, because
which is why we were going to try to not talk about it, but
this is why I was like, I should not talk about it.
Yeah
because it makes me I have feelings.
Yeah. And also, like, part of my reason for not wanting to talk about it is because the last time I was seen defending Destiny is when I got doxxed. I was doxxed. I know I shouldn't keep bringing attention to this, whatever. Again, this is like trust for my audience. And at this point, I'm just like accepting, life or whatever. But when I was doxxed, it was specifically and explicitly because of my perceived defense of Destiny. And you know how Destiny has like a million like fan channels of people who like post from his streams. A video went up today of Destiny like on stream reacting to some like snarker stuff, and someone made like a map of like Destiny's orbit, and it has like Destiny and Hassan and the snarkers and like Tectone. These are like the big bubbles in it, and like my name was on that one as like an orbiter. So that's another like, whatever. I don't want to necessarily bring negative attention to me, although I don't know, like, whatever. I'm not that afraid either. But I mean, I'm afraid of actual negative consequence. Anyway, I should stop talking about this so much. But yeah, like so I think it's a lose-lose, frankly, to even discuss this stuff at all. But that's how we're feeling. And I real serious said a few things that have me really cracking up. But you can't be the designated driver and then decide to crash the car to teach your alcoholic friend a lesson. That is kind of how I feel. I think also, again, just sort of, I know I said I want to move on, but in Connor's defense, I'm going to defend Connor and also bring in, I think, some of Hutch's commentary today. In Connor's defense, again, in defense of his intentions, I believe him. Like, the things that he said to Destiny in that private letter, as like a former therapist, I'm like, ooh, Connor might be touching on something accurate here, that, you know, maybe Destiny has, you know, I hate that I'm jumping into the psychoanalyzing of Destiny here too, right? But like, maybe he does have like commitment issues, you know, and like, to Connor's point of like, people get close to you and you push them away, or you test the relationship in some way. Now, I don't know that it's accurate. Like, I don't think that Destiny's living his life to test his friends, even if that's a consequence of what he does, you know? So I think even that, it makes you sound like a little self-involved. Like, I don't think that he was doing it to test your friendship, even if that is the consequence of his behaviors. But so again, to defend Connor's intentions, I think he actually sees someone that he cares about and appreciates and reveres in some way, in his mind, like, just hurting themselves, basically. So I think all of that is true. But then what Hutch said that I think was very wise was like, it's a bit of just an over investment, even as a good friend, assuming they were best friends, right? It's like at a certain point, it is very much like, it is very like recovery coded and like stoic coded of like, only so much is in your control. And this is kind of what you said on our one of our streams last week, of like, you don't have to like all of those things. You have to accept that you cannot change all of these things. And that doesn't mean you have to stand by. That might just mean the end of your relationship. You don't have to endorse or stand by any of these things. No. But for your own, for the sake of Connor's, you know, mental and whatever, he can't be that invested. He can't take the weight of like fixing Destiny onto himself.
It seems like an over investment. It seems like to be like overly angry and stuff about your friend's life. And I get it to a degree, and I get it because it implicates like your livelihood right now, and Destiny trying to draw the boundary about Doobie could implicate like his collaborations, and like so I get how all these things can like kind of bleed into each other, but also at the same time, it's like it's probably not doing yourself any favors, right? So at that point, if it's not helping you, then you gotta take a step back and, I don't know, do something different.
Yeah, and I think
seems
too,
like it seems like it's coming out sideways. Like, I don't know, Connor's divorced. He talked about that. He had to stream about that, and psychoanalyze or not, like people have been saying this like is something going on, and I don't know. I can't make that. Like,
well, and like, I don't even think that's fair. But now you've opened yourself up to that, right?
But that's the chatter is there, right? So whatever, and I don't know, and like, who knows?
Yeah. No, and just maybe I say this is my last comment on it. I'm sure it won't be, but okay. I think also Connor. I don't know how many times I don't think Connor's a liar or a bad guy. I just don't. I'm not bought into that. So I think Connor believes this to be true, but I think unfortunately it's like belied by the series of events. So now Connor's like, in order to make sense of it and to have a coherent narrative, Connor's basically saying, you know, I was trying to put up with it. It didn't reach the threshold in my mind of like excommunication. And I was trying to like love him into being a better person, you know? When this all first dropped, you know, the Friday and Saturday, so I guess like about a week ago is when this like the first kind of real bridge burn happened, was a week ago from today, last Friday. he was saying, I still love Destiny, the door is still open. And now that now that the door has been closed by Destiny, now Connor's narrative is actually he did this thing that was too degenerate that now I need to step away. So again, to me, there's just an inconsistency there. You didn't and either one is okay. Either one is okay. Like, you know, keeping the door open is okay, and closing the door because he's reached some threshold of immorality that you don't find acceptable is also okay. But there's a contradiction there to me. You know, when a week ago you were saying, I would still be his friend, I love him, but now because it supports because now he needs to do you guys don't even know. Here's the real reason, right? Here's the big drop. And he does the big drop last night, right? And it's like, okay, but a week ago when you also had all of this information, you were still like down to be his friend. So
yes, but like he's been on a psychological but he's been on like we're like literally witnessing like a psychological and emotional journey and roller coaster as all of this shit is unhappening. So yes, things are changing in real time, and in the same nature and vein of like, you know, we don't actually have to keep the same standards all the time. We can change them, and that's okay. And everyone's so debate brained that they think that there's like some fucking hypocrisy or logical
that actually special rules for friends is called pro-social behavior.
Like we treat people differently. We have different standards for different relationships. This is all fucking normal. We should expect that. And you're actually allowed to say a door's open, and then, you know, actually be too tired and exhausted and then say fuck you, and that's like all fine, right? It's just when anyone is narrating all this to the internet over days and days and days, and there are going to be these little changes because we're people, and we're like, you're in the middle of the reaction and the emotional and response and the processing. You're sharing from the reaction rather than from your conclusion. You know what I mean? So it's like that's why it's like take a breath, right? And it's also because that's why people get caught up in having to keep explaining and going over, because and then something and then something. And because that's just how our minds work. But you gotta you gotta let it sit a little bit and like fucking solidify before you can usually understand it and have some distance from it, so you're not just like fucking emotionally like throwing up everywhere. At least I have to.
I think that's right. I think that's right. And we're all bringing our own like baggage into our analysis of this, right? Because to your point, like that's like I both relate to some of what Connor's doing, and the like I have this uncontrollable need to explain myself constantly until I feel sufficiently understood and accepted for my explanation, you know, something that is actually outside of the bounds of my control. So I relate in that way. And I also relate into what you just said of like being frustrated in my own relationship, be it friend or romantic or whatever, when like you're in a fight and someone like gives you a reason, an explanation for something, and then like later does another reason, and it feels like a contradict. It feels like unfair. It feels like you're breaking the rules of, and so I'm reacting because of my own feelings about that type of dynamic that I've had in my own life, and that we are all capable of like being on the unfair end of that, you know? And you know, to Chapingro's point, it's like giving it views. We're like feeding this, you know, if this is behavior that we don't want to see, we should try to deprive them of views for it. But also I have no self-control and I want the gossip and the tea and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's messy and ugly. And I'm excited to see Destiny respond to it. So I'm still invested in the drama part of it. I'm still, you know, getting my rocks off on the entertainment. But it's ugly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So
yeah,
hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully this blows over.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's
Lots of
okay. We could come back if we need to, but like let's
move on.
just. I just
The
don't
thing
want
we
to talk
weren't going to
about.
talk about now took up more than half of the show. Would
I
it call us
know.
out, Zero Fucks? Okay, it's true. All right, fine. We're reorienting back to seriousness.
Serious stuff. Soy pill and
The
Hassan
soy pill, yes, that
and the
debate.
sweeping.
That debate was crazy. Mostly. Now, am I? Did Pisco call into that debate? He did, right? Or am I like
I don't.
hallucinating?
I watched.
Wick, you can be our fact check. Did Pisco call into that debate? He did. Okay, yeah. I thought the most mask off moment. He came to save Soy Pill. It came from Soy Pill and Pisco, which is they both said something to the effect of, and forgive me because I'm not quoting precisely here, but like they moved the goalposts so much of like what a possible infraction, what they might accept as like actually nefarious, to if they were very subversive to the American government in a like not even just subversive was a line that was a threshold that was too low for them. You know, if
Very
it was like
subversive.
sufficiently really subversive and intentionally so, then and
I
to me,
didn't
that's just
realize
like
that was a fucking legal standard, Pisco,
right.
that you
And
one needed to get a fucking subpoena. What the fuck is very subversive? Excuse me,
yeah,
Your Honor. He was very subversive.
but it's just like, I mean, the loading for that term is in the terms, you know, like subversive. You don't need the qualifier there, right?
Yes.
Yet, and so yeah, it was just like, so nothing that he could have done basically would have met the threshold for you guys. And yeah, I don't know, it was just like, first of all, that Lockheed liberal guy was excellent, very thoughtful, very knowledgeable, and he had he had the benefit of not being a Trump supporter and not being a Republican. So when they tried to push that on him and accuse him of just, you know, slobbering on the Trump administration's knob, he can say, no, I come in with the same skepticism. And again, I thought that was so effective on his part of the debate to say, you know, like, I came in with at the same ground level assumption that you guys did, you know, with regards to subpoenas coming from the Trump administration. However, in this context, with this specific person, in this specific country, with this specific type of trip, right? And so I thought it was great, and it was nice also to see like Wick have his mind changed in real time too. And the comments on that video were absolutely hilarious. I think I don't know if I took a screenshot or not, but people were like calling Wick a fascist and like an imperialist. It's so funny.
Guys, like, so I'm just like so boring about this in some ways, because like not enough has come out to really have an informed opinion on it, right? So it's all speculation and vibes at this point. They don't have anything yet, really, right? So it's just all well, this possibly could have happened. So yes, they possibly are doing political prosecutions with no good reason, or there is possibly a good reason for them to investigate him. That's like,
yeah,
both are possible. But to say that there is zero possibility that there's a good reason for a subpoena is just not, like, it's just not within the realm of like rational thought.
you're not right. You're not. You're not being good faith anymore.
You're not being honest. Like, to say that
Right.
there's nothing you could, like, please, that makes it just makes no sense.
Yeah, and I think like, and to your point that we don't have the evidence, like we don't, true, but I think Bishop made a pretty compelling point that like what we do know just about his travel is enough to warrant looking into.
For sure.
Yeah, and like and they just like would not they pisco soy pill. I meant to say that in the opposite order,
bed.
but they would just not accept that. And to Chipingro's point, the James Bond coffee shop discussion really drove it home for me. Yeah, like soy pill keeps saying like you're supposing some James Bond level scheme. Not literally, not at all. None of that is entailed. You know, for him to like even be you know, an unwitting asset or agent of a foreign country. And someone
most
made the
people
point,
don't know that they're interacting with spies. When they're interacting with spies, that's why they're fucking spies, right? Like, they tend to be good at pretending to be normal people.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
This is
yes.
Yeah.
And like also, I mean, this didn't get much, or actually maybe Bishop did do some pushback, but real serious, his comment kind of made me laugh about this. Why are we talking about Hassan when there's a genocide in Gaza right now? To that point, like, I'm also so sick of like the soy pill defense of like, because somebody cared about the struggling people in Cuba and wanted to bring them aid, like that's a if you're this is, and I'm sorry, this is the same thing with the flotilla and all of the people who were sending their the fucking rabbis for ceasefire who performed.
You don't get to cross international water on your fucking little raft.
Yes, but wait, even if that was legal, okay, let's just suppose it were legal, and even if it were legal to bypass U.S. sanctions to Cuba, which I'm not sure, I'm not going to make a comment on the legality, but even if it were legal, it is a self-interested move. This is like, I'm sorry, I'm always brought back to this image that is seared into my brain of like one of my nemesis on the internet. She's this like trans woman, ex-Hasidic rabbi who is now an anti-Zionist, like woke activist, basically based in New York. And she was one of the rabbis for ceasefire who flew to Israel. They all put on white like togas. I wish I were exaggerating. I will pull up an image if I must. They all put on white togas, drove down to the border, and then carried bags of rice to the border. So each of them is carrying maybe like one singular piece of aid, okay? When you are flying to Israel to walk across the border, or even getting on a flotilla, or even flying to fucking Cuba, it is about you. If you wanted to maximize aid to send to these people, then you save all of the costs for flights and for the fucking boat to have all of the passengers. You save all of that money and you just send the aid. There are ways to do it without involving yourself. So it's like, even I will never accept the framing. Even if I thought Hassan was a good person, which I don't, even if I thought he was motivated by genuine like humanitarian concern, which I do not believe, if that is your motivation, then you send money. You send to the places that are going to get the most of your money going straight to the aid. You send it to the people who are on the ground, to the people whose jobs are already in moving this stuff around. If you need to involve yourself in delivering the aid, that didn't we like learn this as kids? Like that's like the least that's like the least, what's the fucking word I'm looking
altruistic?
That's like the least altruistic way, to engage in charity is like for you need to stand on the stage and take a picture of you handing it over to this poor brown person. It's like the cringiest thing ever. Okay, if you want to carry the conversation for a second, I'm going to try to pull up the picture of Rabbi Abby at the Gazan border in a toga with a rice bag.
Like, the picture even has them with the rice bags. That's wonderful.
Yes,
guys, do you want to hear my theory? My theory that I think that the entire internet should run with is that I think Hassan is a Mossad agent, and I think he's working with Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Mossad and the IDF, and he's trying to collect and find all of Israel's adversaries, and then he's going to filter them to Mossad, and they are going to then go get those people. And I think that makes more sense for him And I think he would be genuinely like mad at that. So I just think that, we should just call him a Mossad agent, but like sincerely, because he actually would be very good at being undercover in that way. And people would probably be reaching out to him to try to like subvert the Israeli government.
And I love it too because it feeds into like alt-right propaganda too. First of all, it engages this like true fact about Israeli society, which is that it is quite racially and ethnically diverse, which is why like Israel can actually effectively have agents in all of these enemy territories, because a lot of Jews look, that would be funny if like Hassan Piker was actually a Jewish Mossad agent, right, underneath it all. And it would like fit in with the alt-right conspiracy theories about like Jews both blending in with white people and the non-whites and subverting
they're
all that
controlling the
stuff.
media and the message and the framing, and this is all just a big op where they're and then he's going, and all of the people who are reaching out to him, he is handing them over, and he's getting all the shekels. It would warm my fucking heart.
I sent you, Kay.
Okay, that didn't. Okay, hold on. Oh wow. Okay. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. I have to drag it somewhere and then grab it. Okay. Image. Oh my god. Hold on.
Threw you in the screen? My arm.
Oh, come on. Hold on.
Look at that chat. Real people. No. Yeah. My wife can't believe that you guys are in here listening to us speak. Quick, guys, type. The chat is stale now. She's not going to believe that you're live. Look at that. Can you hear her laughing?
Oh my god.
No way.
Wow, Kel, look. You're even famous now.
Interesting.
That's so cute.
This is good. I'm not getting paid from this, so I at least need to prove that I have like some type of human impact here.
There we go, guys.
Yeah. So there's Rabbi Abby in a sea of white flags, which I don't think they get to raise the white flag. I'm not sure that that's how that works. With a singular bag of aid. Yeah. So yeah, that's how much cringe. That's how much next time Tali sandwich making stream. Honestly, I make really good sandwiches. My wife's making a sandwich right now because I can't make it for her, which I normally would because I'm here talking to all of you. But yeah, this picture, this is why I have like I won't even give 2 inches to the like, but he was trying to do a good thing. No, I'm sorry. No, you could do a good thing without having to take a picture with it. And again, I'm not like above this. I say all this as someone who, when we've talked about our woke pasts, right? One of my favorite things about going to the protests and doing all of that stuff was posting about it and getting the credit, the social credit of being a good person. So I'm not saying I'm above acting like this, but this is why we should not give an inch to the argument that they're just concerned about the suffering of these innocent people. And again, Soy Pill was like, it's kind of like this idea of like, you can't criticize him because he's sticking up for Palestinians. It's like, no, of course you can. And no, he's not meaningfully sticking up for Palestinians in the same way that he's not meaningfully contributing to the thriving of Cubans, of regular Cuban civilians. So yeah, I don't know. I found that
it's like, but in this way, it's like, how do I explain it? Like, because they're critical of Hassan, it's like it's extra cool and extra good of them and extra based and like honest of them to stick up for him, right? This is how that's how like leftism works in that way, right? It's like, especially if somebody's not on my team, if I'm sticking up for them at all, that shows just how principled I am, because I don't have to be, but it actually, it's serving you and your optics, right, to be doing that, because you're not being honest.
Right.
That's kind of what I came with. Like, you're not being honest about like any possible criticisms there, and
Right.
that's just either like, I don't know, like it's either a game, or like you're holding on to this so much because you need to prove to yourself that, like, I don't know, that you're so principled that you're going to stand up for even Hassan, you know?
Right. And it's like, to Bishop's point, like, standing up for him when also like nothing has happened. He wasn't arrested. Like, what was announced is a subpoena. And a subpoena does not mean you're going to jail. It means we need to collect information from you. Like, that's what that means. And you know, this is also where I side with Destiny. And I struggled a little bit because what I was about to say, I already have to walk back in my mind, because I do believe in being principled, obviously, and I don't like, you know, when the right does this and whatever. But like, to Destiny's point, like, no, you actually don't have to defend Hassan, and he wouldn't defend any of you. And it doesn't actually make you more righteous and virtuous. Like, again, if there were some like principle here, you know, again, if it was like, if we're arguing over Hassan saying something crazy and him being kicked off of Twitch, even that, it'd be really hard for me to feel any sympathy for. But again, if we're talking about like deplatforming in some way or whatever, then I understand like having some type of principled stance. But again, you guys are like tripping over yourselves to defend this man who would never defend you from a subpoena, from being semi-formally asked to answer questions. The whole thing is just extremely cringe. And then something we didn't bring up yet is like, or we kind of brought it up but didn't dive into it, is like Pisco's, and it's not just Pisco, there's a lot of people on the left right now just starting from the assumption that anything coming out from any part of the Trump administration, from anything coming out from any part of the government under a Trump administration, is nefarious and should be ignored and rejected. Even Destiny actually kind of made that point too, which I don't agree with or appreciate. And that is just like, that it like tribal, I don't know what we call that, right? It's like,
yeah.
And that's also, and I think Bishop made this point too, but it's like, that, where do we go from there then? Like, then we are just going into, this is just a ping pong. And then it actually makes me understand more why they are okay with the back and forth, ever expanding court, right? Because yeah, they're actually not concerned about like checks and balances that are maintained across administrations. Their concern is being able to maximize their impact when they have power, and so therefore maximizing the opportunity for them to have power, basically. And it feels just like really that simple and transparent. Yeah
No, with the court packing thing, it's it's a scary concept, and not so much just because like I'd be against the court packing. I just think how things would devolve if they like court packed and then tried to expand the Senate so that it couldn't be unpacked, or like Republicans wouldn't get power for a very long time. I just think that would so completely and utterly totally fuck your country in such a way, like riots on the streets, like burn that shit down type of thing. Like people, like things are so polarized already. I think it, like I cannot explain how bad I think that would be. And I don't think that people will just like the court more when they're making decisions that they like more. I know that the polling suggests, I think people like the court more.
Some people will, but it'll just be more of a partisan.
It more, but
Right.
they might not respect it more. And there's a difference between liking something and respecting it. I can like a lot of things that I have no respect for and don't want to follow its authority. And I don't think that liking the court and having favorability of the court should be the metric really at all. It should be like, I think it's okay to look at also, but like, do you respect the court's authority? And are you willing? Yeah.
So it's right. It's like where the polling already exists. But Ryan asked, we want to chat about this. I would be down to pull Ryan in. I don't know how much time you have, but if that's what you're proposing, Ryan, I'd be happy to bring you in. But just Zero Fucks made an interesting point that doesn't surprise me, but it bears repeating. 84% of the government were employed on January 19th, 2025, right? So literally 84% of the people who are working to make this machine run were part of the Biden administration. So yeah, exactly. Like so this idea that you need to be skepticism, okay, is fair and fine. And by the way, skepticism is something that you should hold for either party who's in power, right? You should hold that for any administration. But this idea that because you don't like who the president is and like who the cabinet members are, that you can facially reject everything that comes out of this administration and just accept it as illegitimate, I think is ridiculous. And yeah, to your point, just like leading us down a bad road to just continual negative polarization.
Yeah. I sent Ryan a link over Discord.
Cool beans.
He said 5 minutes, so whenever is good for you. Yeah, I just think it would be so bad. Well, QC John asked before how many hours until monetized, and then I looked, and Jesus, guys, it's 2,300 hours left.
Wait, 2,300 hours of streaming or of watching?
Of view. I have like 650 watch hours.
That is freaking hilarious. So yeah, we make a plan. People, I'll watch it when I sleep. I'll listen to it while I sleep. That is actually hilarious.
I know. And 426 more subscribers.
That's all.
But that's it. Just a drop in the bucket. But I know that I know from internet shit, it's like the beginning is slow. I know it's slow, and we don't stream very much, and we don't stream for like long hours and hours and hours. You know, I mean, there are things that can be done to amp this all up.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll speak for myself here, but like I talk on the internet because it is my hobby. It is like if I, you know, instead of like boring my wife to death and also her not like not caring, right? It's like I do this, and I've been chatting on the internet about things that I find interesting for several years now in different formats and forums and whatever. So it's not about, I know like everyone says that basically, whatever, but yeah, truly I'm here for free, right? Because this is just
okay. Ryan's here. Let me pull him in.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, gang. Oh, hold on.
Hello.
Sorry.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna be right back, guys. I'm listening. Give me a second.
Sorry, that was so funny. I was listening to you all on my phone, and then when you pulled me up, I was like, "Where'd the audio go?" Because I don't have like fucking headphones on.
Yeah, that'll do it. Hello, sir.
Classy me. Hey, gang. Good to talk to you. And I commiserate the getting the channel off the ground. Like the first couple hundred subs, the like getting to the monetization thresholds, and then like the higher monetization thresholds, it's brutal, you know. So it's like you gotta remember, like the first 10 subs are harder than the next 100, You know, like
Yeah.
it is just one of those things.
And I'm just stoked. I'm just stoked to have people who come in and watch us and
Yeah.
are like actively engaged in the conversation. To me, that's more than I could ask for.
Hey, can people on my side hear me now? Apparently I boomered the tech on this one. So
No, apparently you're boomer. Chipingra says that you're muted on your stream.
yeah. Am I still muted on my stream, guys? I think I fixed it. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I think I did something wrong, but whatever. I did an ungraceful fix. So you guys were talking like the Hassan subpoena, right?
Yes.
This is, I'm like mystified, but well, I'm not mystified. It's just it's partisanship. But like the idea that there would need to be some huge standard of proof produced for a subpoena, like a subpoena is an investigative tool.
Right.
Right? Didn't we hear for years and years and years, correctly, by the way, from people like Pisco who would say the standard for opening an investigation is very, very low, because the standard for opening an investigation is very, very low. And I mean, he brought aid to a sanctioned country, talked about having communications with the government of that country, glad-handed, and did CCP propaganda. Well, like, there are so many things that he did. Like, if they wanted to open an investigation into whether he's a foreign agent who hasn't registered and is like conducting lobbying activities on behalf of a foreign government, a hostile foreign government, like, they have more than enough reason to open an investigation. Does that mean they could convict him? No. Does that mean they have enough to charge him with a crime? Probably not. I don't know. But opening an investigation, like sending a subpoena, that's the bar there is so low. And I don't quite, other than partisanship, I just don't get how anyone could be that upset about this. This is like, you know, it's like, would you be that upset if like a police officer was like, I think somebody did a crime, I'm going to go talk to them. You know, it's in that vein. It's a little bit more serious than that.
Yeah, I think that there's clearly like reasons that they could have gotten a subpoena, and to just say full stop, there's no way that could have been like a reasonable thing to do. It just seems a little like a little brain broken. You know what I mean? It just seems completely and wholly unserious. Are we going to keep this standard later? Because I don't think they will. You know.
Well, no. Ironically, of course they're not, because what they're all talking about, even the most moderate of them, even my dear King Hutch, they're all talking about the moment that they get power, even into which they anticipate having power in 2026, control of the House. They are talking about investigating, and I quote, every single person in the Trump administration, every single person in the cabinet, every single person appointed by Trump. So no, of course, according to them, the bare minimum level of opening an investigation is something that they want to do for purely partisan reasons, right? Not even because, to Ryan's point and to the Lockheed liberals' point, right? They're already just on the face, just of the little information of the public information that we know based on his public travel record and the things that he's said on stream. There's enough to go on a subpoena. But all of them very explicitly want to start investigating every member of the Trump administration in January, I guess. You know, like that is just explicitly their goal.
Yes. But this is like where I've come down to now, is that like now saying that you have the standard, it's not enough. Like, you've had to have the standard and said you've had this standard before this thing happened. So like they're doing it with the war thing with Trump and Iran. And then people are like, oh, but what about when Obama did this or so-and-so did that? Yes, I'll condemn that too. Did you condemn it before though? Because if you didn't condemn it before, you don't get to retroactively go back now and talk about how condemnable it is. If you weren't talking about it and how bad it was, then it wasn't that bad. And we don't get to go rewrite your position on it now that something else has come to highlight it. So you have to have the standard.
Well, but I mean, and to that point, like how could you expect the government to produce evidence of a crime without investigating the crime? A subpoena is an investigative tool, right? You know what I mean? Like that like what are we talking about here? Right? Like, it's like, oh, like let's imagine, I don't know what they think he did, but let's imagine they think that he was acting as an agent of China or Cuba and like
I think he's guilty as fuck, by the way.
Yeah,
I think he's like, I think they're gonna
yeah.
find, and I think this is gonna go down.
Well, like one of the things they might do, because like WhatsApp, for example, is encrypted, right? So like they might go to like an ISP. They might go to like they might use different governmental powers to try to get the ISP to turn over data, but they also could go to you and say like, I need you to turn over all your data. I need you to unlock your phone. I need you, to give us this information, give us your communication so we can see whether or not you committed a crime. And that's not, I mean, like, that doesn't mean he has to do it. He's a millionaire. He can hire, like, this is what I do for a living. Like, I probably issued and fought a dozen subpoenas this calendar year, right? Like, we do this all the time. He can go to a lawyer. They can fight it if he wants to, or he can cooperate. But like that, it's an investigative process. So I don't know. Like, are we saying that, like, are we really taking the position that because Trump is in power and he's a leftist, that he's immune to government investigation, and that the government ought never look into anything he does? Like, what? Like, is that actually the point that we're taking? Because like, how on earth are you supposed to determine if there's a crime without investigating?
Well, I think
that
their
is
position.
kind of,
yeah,
that is kind of their position. Yes.
Yeah, that seems to be their position, right?
Yeah.
Based on what they were saying on Wix, is that like, no, we have like negative inference on the Trump administration, so they have to extra prove that it's warranted to do. But okay, but like, this is a question I have, and this is what's happening. And we when we spoke to Connor, we had this discussion, and we asked, like, when is the emergency over? Because it seems like, Trump is the emergency, and now it's like that MAGA's the emergency, and now it's all the Republican Party is the emergency, and because they're creating this emergency, we get to act outside of our normal, regular, rational rules and principles. But it looks like there is no end to their perceived emergency.
No, this is why I went. I guess I started my villain arc, if you want to call it, a few months ago. There was a news story that rubbed me the wrong way, and I posted about it, and people got really strangely, in my mind, upset about it. But the thing that was bothering me is I was like, it really seems to me like the Democrats are using this series of emergencies that you well described as an excuse to coalesce around some very bad ideas without having to be honest about what they're doing. Right? They're like, it's just look over there, don't look over here. And the reason, like, just because it's on my mind because it went last night, the reason I went so hard on Pisco last night is because he was making the rounds with Josiah, trying to make it seem like, oh yeah, wouldn't like a little court packing just be reasonable? Wouldn't it? What's a little court packing between friends? Wouldn't that be reasonable? And I took an inventory of what his actual positions are, and just let's just tick them off, right?
Yeah.
He's in favor of the Democrats taking power and breaking the filibuster completely, right? So they can just pass anything they want. Once you break the filibuster, you can pack the court the same way you could pass a law. If you have the House, the Senate, and the president, that's it, just slim majorities. Then you can fill those seats on slim majorities with anybody you want, no criteria, right? So then the court's packed. It turns out packing the Senate by adding new territories and giving them as states and giving them Senate seats doesn't require a supermajority. It's just passing a law. So with this, by breaking the filibuster, you can admit extra states, right? And you can then say, okay, well, now we have +4, +6 in the Senate, so you can never get power back to undo what we just did, right? Or repack the court, et cetera, et cetera. That combination of policies, which Pisco never says them in the same place. He says them separately, right? As a constellation. But if you put those three things together, that is worse than anything Trump has ever done. It's worse than anything Trump, it's more authoritarian than anything Trump has ever done. And just to give you like what it would look like, because the right, by the way, has the political power to do it tomorrow if they want to. If they were truly authoritarian in this way, they could do the following tomorrow.
Which, by the way, is Pisco's point. He keeps making that point that, you know, the Dems should not be afraid of Republicans responding in kind, because to his point and to sort of your point, Republicans could do what they could do that right now. You know, they're unhinged, right? They don't
But they're
need us
not.
to act. Exactly. I agree
Yes.
with you. But Pisco makes this point too, that there's nothing structurally stopping Republicans from doing this right now.
Except the fact that they know that everybody knows, everybody who really thinks about government, and this is why Eastman got disbarred. And this is why I think it was, you know, Rob disagrees with me, but I think it was right he got disbarred. If the VP is allowed to pick the next president, you no longer have a functioning system of government. You just have like a monarchical line, right? If we get to the place where one party gets in power and they just start packing the Senate so that they can never get out of power, there's no end to that. Like, can you imagine if the Republicans did this tomorrow, because they could. They abolish the filibuster. They pack the court to like 20. We got Justice Alex Jones. We got Justice Mike Lindell, right?
Yeah.
Now, by the way, the next time there's an election, I strongly suspect that Justice Mike Lindell is going to have something to say about how the Democrat votes are counted. It's just a hunch that might happen, right? Now, there's these islands that are in dispute between America and Texas in the Gulf. Between Mexico and Texas. And it's like, we don't know exactly who those are. All right. So we build a house on it and we recognize it as a state. That's +2 in the Senate. Like, this is 100% things the Republicans could do tomorrow if they were willing to abandon the guardrails that actually prevent democracy from falling, right? Like, you would be an authoritarian hellscape of a country if you did that, but they could. But like, if that sounds crazy, those are Pisco's actual policy prescriptions, right? Like, he's doing the equivalent of what John Eastman did, right? He's arguing for the positions that end the system, right?
Yeah.
And,
So
it's not a joke. Like, this is like, if the Eastman shit rubbed you the wrong way at all, this should be at least as bad in your mind.
Yeah. And so what I'm getting with what you're saying, and I hadn't heard them talking about packing the Senate and adding like Puerto Rico and the islands and I don't know, Guam maybe. But if they were to do that, then it's like essentially game over. Republicans get back in power. They're not going to be able to pack the court in response again the same way. So that is why they are not particularly worried about the cascade of the never-ending court justices being added to SCOTUS.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. I hadn't thought about it in those terms.
Yeah, this is the thing I was saying to Pisco in the debates, that like he's in his bullshit syllogism, it says there won't be a serious consequence cascade. Now he actually has taken the position that if there was a serious consequence cascade, that it would be preferable to the status quo.
Right.
So that's actually not in his syllogism. That's just him saying, I don't give a shit. But like, but even setting that aside, Kay, that's the issue, is that they don't think there'll be a cascade because they think they're going to lock the Republicans out of power for 20 years. That's what they think is that's how they avoid the cascade.
Well, Kay, you just totally closed the loop on that for me, though. Yeah, right. Like, and maybe I don't even know how conscious this is on Pisco's end, giving some benefit of the doubt, because that's my favorite thing to do. I don't know how conscious this is on his end, but you make a good point that perhaps part of the reason that he is not concerned about this escalation spiral, right, is, to your point, is because once they have packed the Senate in that way, you can't come back, right? Which also I think,
but this is why they don't make the argument for it at the same time, though, because that is so much more fucked up. Yes, that is leaps and bounds more fucked up and more authoritarian, and people would not like. People don't want it to happen to begin with, but knowing that they would be doing that specifically for that kind of a power grab on top of that makes people feel a certain way. Yeah. And they're
gonna do it with this false virtue. They're gonna go like, oh, but don't the people of Puerto Rico deserve representation? What do people say? Oh, it's over reasoned. I have too many rationales. Yeah, it's good for me for partisan reasons, but the people of Puerto Rico, clearly that's the issue here. Right. It's like pump the brakes. Like
I think You made an excellent point, just even about like the minimum wage in Guam as an
Mhm.
example, and him being like, okay, well, yeah, well, we can make an exception then, right, for an economic exception. You think the left is not going to say, why are the Guamanian people any less deserving of a livable wage than, you know, our brothers and sisters in Texas and New York? No, of course that is
Yeah.
going to be another hill to die on. But you know, I said in your chat earlier, Ryan, that I personally wish you had engaged with the prompt more, but in not even in your defense, but I think in me reevaluating this right now as we're talking about it. So I was frustrated again on my own personal behalf that you didn't do that, only because I know that you're so competent and I want someone competent making this argument. But to that end, so he was frustrated that you would, and then he was at the end, he was trying to get you to admit that you would support preemptive court packing, basically, right? And I think that is defensible when you uncover what Pisco's actual plan is. But you know, so I was frustrated that you weren't engaging with the prompt, but it's actually just as frustrating that Pisco wouldn't, when you pointed it out what his actual positions were, he wouldn't incorporate them into the debate either. He was saying, well, we can debate that at another time, we can schedule that. Well, no, bitch, I'm here, and it's obviously intrinsically related to the topic. So yeah, to that end too, that was extremely sneaky, and it's because he knows that, to both of your point about how he's kind of choosing his audience of where he says what, he knows that in this audience, going full Pisco of what his actual plan is would not benefit him at all. So
and he's trying to stain wash court packing, right? He's trying to stain wash a rational
He's
argument
calling it
to put out there
unpacking.
in the distance.
Yeah. I
Right?
take
the irony. Yeah,
I take the feedback. And Rob gave me that feedback, and I appreciate it. And people have given me that feedback, and there's something to it. And I think I could have been maybe more artful. And there's no such thing as a perfect debate. Even
it's a balance.
Even if the modern day debate audience voted for me, I think was it 86 to 14% as the winner of that one. So maybe there's a 14% room for improvement, let's say. But I can tell you why I did what I did. Let's say somebody was going around town and they're like, we think the town should have a vote on whether or not we should get to borrow your car. We'll give it back. We'll pay you for the time. We'll borrow we want to have a vote on whether we get to borrow your car from time to time so we can all have it for community benefit, but we'll compensate you. Just a fair vote. And you're like, but you're a car thief and you're on the record as having the stated goal of stealing my car. And they're like, hold on, that's not the prompt. We're here to talk about whether or not the community should have access to your car. Whether or not I'm a car thief who has the stated goal of stealing your car is irrelevant to why I'm talking about this here today.
Right.
It's like,
I'm just one guy. The community is speaking.
I'm just one guy, right? So the issue is, here's my counter worry. I was worried that I go up there and I have a really technical, lawyerly argument with Pisco. And what happens when I argue with Pisco on the law normally? I win. People, I've won every debate I've had with Pisco, but nobody really understands what the fuck we're talking about. They have a sense that I have more confidence and I communicate better, but they don't always follow along. And it seems really technical and everyone goes back to their corner, right? If somebody's position is, I want to impose tyrannically upon you and take away your right to self-govern, the response is not, let's have a polite conversation about it, and I want to hear your reasons. The response is, fuck you, tyrant, and I'm going to kick you in the dirt and laugh. That's the response. That's the proper response. And me going up there and disingenuously engaging with him as if that this is like a normal conversation is actually a problem. Like, what I wanted people to see is that this is fucking outrageous, that what he's doing is outrageous, and that you should be angry about it, and that you should not take this shit seriously, and that when people come up to you and start saying this stuff to you, your response should be, as an American, get fucked, tyrant. I'm gonna kick you in the dirt and laugh. That's my that's where we're at with this. Yeah. And similarly, it's like where I was with like the Eastman stuff. Like when someone's like, well, isn't there a good constitutional argument for whether or not the vice president can just pick the next president? It's like, no, we're not having this conversation. Like, you know what you're doing. This isn't a both sides thing. Get fucked, tyrant. And anyway, I think I could have been more artful, but that's the position. And it was like, I don't want him to be able to go around sane washing this shit without people being able to point back to this conversation and be like, oh shit, that's what you're up to.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, and I don't want to relitigate
No,
too much
please.
of the debate. Yeah. No, but the thing is, and I completely agree with that framing, and I agree with that mission. My feeling, and again, I wasn't in the debate, so to your point too, it's like this is like backseat driving and whatever, right? But I think there was probably time in the debate to do all of that. And what my frustration is, I think that Pisco did get, even if a small one, he did get an optical W in you essentially like admitting, I'm putting this in scare quotes, admitting that you were going to avoid the prompt because you had this other sort of goal. And so I think that gives him a way to say like, look, he wouldn't answer the question, whatever. So, but no, I agree with your analysis entirely of what his motivations are. And I agree that it's important to present that to the audience. And that it really should make you wonder why he wanted the prompt to be one Supreme Court justice when that is not his plan.
It's not his position.
And there's something, and again, I appreciate too that you went through all of his different streams and stuff, because he has been building this for a while, and he's been radicalizing himself too, like in the process of going over this. Like he's getting more extreme in what he's calling for, and he's also trying to like, and again, maybe it's not, he's doing this all in public, so I'm not even going to say that he's like trying to control the strings or whatever in some uber nefarious way, but he's like saying out loud to his audience, we need to frame it this way so people will feel more comfortable with it. We need to call it unpacking the court. And there's just like an irony to me that we're all kind of like making up these we're doing the thing where you use the common term. I know there's a word for this, right? Where we use this term, whatever, and we play with it in the English language. But your characterization of Senate packing is actually more accurate and more fitting than his characterization of unpacking the court by adding 4 explicitly liberal justices. Like it's like it doesn't even make sense. And so I do think it was very important for someone to try to tear all of that down. And listen, for all the frustrations that I had watching the debate yesterday, other people who have gone against him in this debate get totally stepped on underneath the weight of his aggressive, whatever demeanor. So,
but that's because he refuses to engage on any of the obvious common sense points that people are making. And he does that thing where he's like, well, what do you mean? It could have, what proof do you have that there could be a negative outcome? Like as if it's like upon me to provide proof of something that's never happened before, and B, provide proof for something that you're proposing, the radical change from the norm, and you want me to provide proof that there could possibly be a negative outcome, like and not even just allowing like the common sense intuition, but also saying, oh, but people like this more, and I think people will be happier here. Like, well, what proof do you have of that? Like the standards are all over the place when he's arguing it, and I think that's why he argues it so aggressively, as opposed to so like formally, if you will, or technically, because there isn't a good technical argument.
Well, this is you said a couple of really important points there, and I want to talk about the more interesting ones. But before I do, I'm just going to say something mean because I feel like saying it. The idea that Pisco and his fans are pearl clutching that I was mean or unfair to him is fucking ridiculous. Pisco is the bully of the space. He goes around, he throws around his law degree, he gets hyper aggressive with people who aren't prepared for it, and then railroads them and claims victory. It's his entire internet identity. Now, as I think I've demonstrated, I am just as capable of doing that shit if I want to. I choose not to, because 99% of the time, because I think it's a shitty way to interact with people. But that doesn't mean I can't go into a conversation and just be a legal asshole and be as, bullyish and throw my weight around as I want as possible. Like, this is a skill set I have. It's just a shitty way to be a human. So, like, I totally get that, but for him to complain about it at this point is a joke. So,
the funny Yes, but the funny thing is there, Ryan, and maybe you missed the very beginning of our stream.
Mhm.
Kay's criticism of your debate yesterday was that if you were gonna go Pisco on Pisco, that you didn't go Pisco enough. Kay's criticism was that you, because to your point,
Be a little me.
Pisco is actually way more unhinged and rude
so
and all of
unhinged.
this stuff. It's true that you went more in his style of like in holding the frame and refusing to, kind of obnoxiously refusing the other. Obnoxious, whatever. You went for the Pisco style, but to Kay's point, you were actually nowhere near as aggressive and rude and dismissive as he can be.
I mean,
He just calls people names, like in a way that's so rude. Yeah.
So I think that's an important point. Like, it's not like he's like some, like, would I have ever taken that approach in a conversation with like Eucharist? Obviously not. So I think that's point A. Point B is the whole point of that syllogism, to your point, Kay, that you articulated well, is to create a weird burden shift where suddenly it's on you to prove why doing something unprecedented and tyrannical is wrong, not on him to explain that. And he does that by using custom and proprietary definitions of terms that are either his or invented in the last year. These are, no one thinks of court packing in this way. He's using justified in a way that is unintuitive and not how people typically take the term.
I spent like an hour complaining about how he's using the word justified in our last stream. Sorry, I can keep
he talks about the negative consequence cascade, but then he's actually openly admitted that he's in favor of it. Right? Like the whole thing about what Pisco's doing there is he's trying to create an optic where it's presumptively rational to do something unthinkable, and it's on you to disprove it. Right?
Yes, and they keep using the self-defense thing as if it makes sense at all.
Yeah.
It completely fails in so many ways. Like as if like the only ramification for like murdering somebody in self-defense is like a legal ramification. Like there's just so many other things that one would have to contend with being a person in the world, as just
so no, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I mean, I think this is the point, right? Like, I don't care about whether or not I, as a matter of technicality, won the debate prompt. I don't care about whether or not like I have bested Pisco in some kind of intellectual jousting. I certainly don't care what Josiah thinks of me after all this is over with, right? What I care about is whether or not it is clear to people what the game afoot is, right? And watching these conversations he had with Brad Palumbo and Actual Justice Warrior and on Wick's show and on the Marketplace of Ideas, what he is attempting to do, what he and Josiah are attempting to do is very, very clear.
Yes.
Right? And it is time to do something about it. The time to do something about it is right now, because if they gain power and this becomes a mainstream position, it is then too late.
Yeah.
You have James Carville saying, let's not talk about it. Let's just do it. Right? Like,
that's what Hutch is saying too. Again, my moderate liberal King Hutch. Yeah. Well, it's all bad, right? It's all bad and dangerous. But yeah, right.
In the Machiavellian sense, it's smarter.
Yes.
I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. You make a good point. Again, my frustration was like, as someone who, as I said before you came out, I don't know if you heard this, but like as someone who often likes to parrot your points because they are user friendly and so effective. Like that's what I was hoping to get from it in a way that I didn't, because I already agreed with what you said. But I agree with you. You didn't need another debate W. You were trying to explicitly expose. And I think again, there's like even more reason for you to do that when he was trying to be sneaky in setting up the prompt, when he was specifically trying to change the frame to something that he thought would be more, that you would be more amenable to, and that he could convince more people of. And it's duplicitous. It's intention. He's intentionally he's hiding his power level, a term that we all use so often. Yeah,
if
that
you
was
want
just
to,
explicitly.
if you want to refute the syllogism for whatever reason, what you do is you focus on the consequence cascade premise because it's the easiest one to focus on. The definitions thing, he'll just bog you down, and you'll spend all your time arguing about it, and that's the whole point, right? Like he wants to make it as impossible to get through. But you basically say like, well, why wouldn't the Republicans do it back? Why wouldn't they do it back? And he'll say, oh, there's no evidence of that. There's no historic evidence, right? And even if you're not going to do the 13 thing that I did, which is, then you don't have to worry about that because you're like, it's unprecedented. Even if you're talking about one or two, then the argument is that it's self-refuting because at that point, the Republicans have a political injury. So let's rerun the syllogism.
Right.
Now the Republicans are the injured party. They want to get redress. They are not worried about the consequence cascade because why would they be more worried about the Democrats would be? And so then if they accepted your argument, they too would pack the court next time they have power.
Well, but Republicans
can't start. Yeah, because it doesn't start with Garland and fucking McConnell, because that's just an arbitrary point in time that they choose to start at to make their argument. But like you went back to Bork, and you could go back to Bork, or you could go back to any number of other things that like have happened over the years where Democrats did things to favor the courts towards themselves, right? So
yeah, I mean, well, and by the way, do you think Pisco doesn't really know about Bork?
Oh,
You think he really doesn't know about the norm violations there? Is that not something he covered in law school? It's something that like everybody else who does political debates online law knows, just not him. I think it's this like feigned ignorance where it's like, oh, well, can you produce empirical evidence of this thing that's first time unprecedented event? Can you prove to me that Robert Bork was like a turning point in the way Supreme Courts were nominated? This kind of common knowledge thing, like it's entirely disingenuous. And at a certain point, and again, if I'd spent an hour constructing an argument that his argument is self-refuting because of premise 5, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that are we really in a better place?
It weakens the potency, right, of your argument, which is, again, this is tyrannical and will change the structure of our government as we know it. Yeah, no, listen, you're compelling me more to why it was important for you to go down this road, despite my whatever my initial reactions were and whatever is still holding me that way. But I think Zero Fox said in the chat, and I think this is so true, and I've tried to express, Zero Fox always says things nice and succinctly. He said, this is exactly why Destiny's tit for tat model does not work in politics. Each side will see a tat as a tit, which exactly, it's just about the side that you are more sympathetic to is the side that you either see as the more injured party or the originally injured party. And to your point about even if it were just one, right, then the Republicans become the injured party in that way. That's if we're starting on the premise that like both sides are equal and could sustain injuries, like they don't believe that like the Republicans are essentially a Republican injury would just be deserved, basically, right? I mean, they explicitly believe that the only fair and good way to govern is left-wing control of the government. So yeah, a Republican injury to them is just like karmic justice. Right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. As Pisco said, wouldn't we be better off if the people in New York and California were running the country? Right. That's the goal. And the thing about it is, if you imagine them getting their way.
So good.
Nice.
Oh God.
Okay. Oh well, QC John, man of the people, salt of the earth.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But if you imagine them getting their way, right? Like, let's say they did all this stuff. They brought in DC, Puerto Rico. They packed the Senate. They packed the courts. Blah blah blah. They put their code of ethics in. This is how progressivism works, right? It's all these little steps, and they never admit that they're connected. Right? They never admit they're connected. So then, 20 years later, Republicans go, oh my God, it's so crazy that you guys did all this stuff. They're like, but the people of Puerto Rico and DC, we had to give them representation. And the court, I mean, we had to repack the court, come on, you guys. And like, yeah, like we impeached Alito, but like Thomas, I mean, he was so corrupt, obviously. And like, these are all independent things. They're unconnected. This is just where we are now. And this is the status quo. And one of their optical advantages that Republicans tend to be weirdly transparent about a lot of this stuff when they do it. Like McConnell really was like, no, I'm just doing it for partisan reasons, right? And then they focus on that. Same with Trump, where he'll do something and he's very open about it. And it's not something that Democrats don't do. It's just something that they obfuscate more often.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, when I look into a lot of these things, the pattern I see is like Democrats, they'll see something. Well, right now we'll see something that Trump has done and everyone's up in arms about it. And then you go back a little bit and you see the Democrats have done something similar, not quite the same, and that in the past. And now Republicans are Trump, because Trump being Trump just kind of comes in and blows it out of the water and takes it to like a much further level than maybe people knew was possible or thought was possible. But there was like already the door was like open to crack, and everyone was fine with it open to crack, or Democrats were fine when it was open to crack. Republicans didn't like it, but then he comes in and blows the door open. And what I think is actually really interesting is the fact that he's, at least Trump right now, is kind of like laying bare a lot of these, if you want to call them flaws in how the government works, or the procedures, or like what is accepted and what is not accepted. I think that's actually kind of good that it's more in the open now than it was before.
I think that's largely true, because I think it like the idea, for example, that the DOJ was like fully independent of the president. It's like, on what possible basis could anyone believe that child story? Like, like the idea that the president never talked to the attorney general was like, we got to do something about X. Like, of course they did. Like, they work for him, right? Now, what they really wanted to do was to create optical separation, so that then, in many ways, that allows for diffusion of political responsibility. That's what that's really about. Like, you can say like, oh, it's not on me. And I don't think it's ever really been true. It was a nice, convenient lie. And I in some ways, I kind of want that one back, truthfully. Like, it made me comfortable to have it. But I think that the thing about this particular fight is that there are norms that are important, that are good, but maybe we can live without. And then there are the ones that we can't, right? Like, partisan gerrymandering is pretty gross. But if we have a partisan gerrymandering race, we'll be okay. It'll be gross, but we'll be all right. The states will counter each other, and it'll play itself out. The court packing, the Senate packing, like the VP appointing the next president, these are not recoverable blows. Like, these are the things that like state secession is made of, right? And I just don't think you can responsibly advocate for these things. And it is deeply, deeply disappointing to me that that's what Pisco is spending his time doing. And anyway, we don't need to relitigate the debate, but I got this comment on the video, which I thought was great, because it encapsulated why I did what I did. It was, quote, "I'd like to address my argument for the debate proposition, if that's all right." My response, quote, "No, it's not all right." And that's where I'm at with this. Like, I think that sane people need to just be like, this is not all right. You know what I mean? Like if this is what you're planning on doing, I'm going to vote for the craziest goddamn Republican in the world and feel great about it, if this is what you're talking about. Because what you're talking about is just as bad or worse than the things that you've been decrying for 10 years. As Brad Palumbo said about Pisco, like, you've become progressive Stephen Miller. So if that's where we're at, if we're going to have like Stephen Millers on both sides, I'd like the one that's not actively trying to ruin my life. So
And you think they're doing this, and this is the plan by and large, because this is like the only way they think they can grab enough power to kind of like make them satisfied.
I think it's
I don't know.
I think it's
Yeah.
what Destiny said. I don't know how widespread this is amongst the Democrats. It does seem to be gaining in popularity, by the way. But it's what Destiny said the other day. He was comparing the Trump administration to the Nazi regime, and he was saying
Naturally.
that the Trump administration is in many ways worse because they were democratically elected. The problem is that they have a base and that people actually appreciate what they're doing on some level. Like he would prefer that they were authoritarian because then he could rage against them in this different way. So the solution to that is to change the rules of the game so that they can't be elected.
Well,
that's how you solve that problem.
To Kay's question,
Then
yes,
people will
they
just rage
believe.
against.
Well, they believe that, but I think they're right to believe that. Yeah, I think they are right to believe that in order to have the type of left-wing power that they believe is proper, they would need to change the demographics of the country, basically. They would need to add states to totally change the composition of the Senate and stuff like this. Yeah, that is, I think, at least in the short term, that's the only way for them to have the type of one party control that they're looking for, because Americans simply are not in line with their desires. That's the incredible thing too. Like there's like plenty of damage to go around on both sides of the aisle, but they see the low approval rating of the Democratic Party, and they say, well, the base is frustrated. You're not fighting back hard enough, right? And they don't see that in that like breakdown of the disappointment, the majority of those people want the Dems to either push more towards the center or kind of stay where they're at, not become more extreme. It's the minority of the Democratic Party, which is already, only half the country, right? So it's a minority among them who want them to push in this direction. But yeah, so I think they think that their ideas are more popular than they are, but then they also do this ooh, I'm just a little guy, right? Don't hold me responsible thing, which is something that we talk about a lot in here, and Zero Fucks and I talk about a lot too, is like the decentralized nature of left-wing thought and influence and power. And so yeah, this idea that it's just Ro Khanna who's promoting this and I'm just a little guy on the internet. It's like, okay, well, even if that were true, you're pushing it because you want it to happen, right? You're trying to use your social capital on the internet in this sphere because you want it to happen, right? Like, so yeah, it's wimpy. It's wimpy to not just own that.
It's not only wimpy, and I see someone in my chat saying like, this thing like I'm not going to debate tyrants. I'm going to kick them in the dirt. This is like a trap because then you just label everyone tyrants. I take the point, but what did I do at the start of that debate and why did I do it? I said, like, are you going to condemn packing to 13? Are you going to renounce that? No. Are you going to condemn Senate packing? Are you going to renounce it? No. Are you willing to defend those points? Are you willing to put them on the table?
Not today.
No, I'm not willing to defend them. So, this is the thing. If what you want to, if I have pointed out that you hold tyrannical positions and you are unwilling to defend them or renounce them, then yeah, I'm not going to continue the rest of this as if we're having a normal conversation. Right. Now, if you want to abandon those positions, I think that's different, and by the way, like the cosmic joke about all this is, do you know how easy my life would be on the internet if I were willing to be like, fuck, Eastman was the man. Trump was right. He was stolen from. Do you have any idea how big my fucking channel would be if I, as like a credentialed lawyer, was willing to go out there and make those arguments and do the shit? Like, you think Rob's channel his chat wouldn't eat that shit up? You think Andrew's channel wouldn't eat that shit up? Like, this would be great for me, but I'm not willing to do it because I think there's a problem there. And, Pisco's not drawing the same line. And that's really, really disappointing. And ultimately, it does require a different set of responses. So yeah, to the chatter, I'm sensitive to the fact that like you can overprescribe tyrant, you can overprescribe tyranny, but I don't think I did. Right? Like you know, you can say that about anything, but like I don't know. That's why I didn't get into the syllogism right away. It's like, no, I need to know that what I have intuited about you from the things you've said and the pieces I put together is true. Are you going to condemn these things? Are you going to renounce these things? Are you going to defend these things? No. Well, okay. So then why am I going to let you hide your power level and argue for this thing that isn't like, if you convince people that the thing you're talking about, a one seat pack is good, and then they vote for it, you're going to be advocating for the 4. You're going to be advocating. And by the way, once you're in office, it's the same level of power. We don't get to vote again. You just get to do it. It's too late then.
Well, and I want to respond to your chatter too, and I don't know anything about their political leanings, and this is more just like, this is one of my bugaboos right now about our culture, is that I think is like an overcorrection of wokeness, which is like, I resonate with what he said of like, yes, this can be it can just become a cudgel. It can become a weapon to shut people up or to disengage from people, right? That you're just trying to smear. And of course, we know that people do this, right? Famously on the left, right? Calling everyone a Nazi and a fascist and Hitler and racist and all of these things. But we have slightly overcorrected for that insofar as you shouldn't call everyone a tyrant, and yet some people are prescribing tyranny, right? You shouldn't just call everyone a racist. And also, some people are fucking racist, right? So I agree that we need to be thoughtful and prudent and conservative in the way that we levy these types of accusations or labels or whatever, but that doesn't mean that we can't use them, right? We need to be trying to restore the legitimacy and power essentially of language, right? We don't want to water it down, but that also doesn't mean that we can't ever use these things because some people use them in a nefarious way. It's like, if the shoe fits, that's where we need to be screaming shoe, right? So yeah, in this case, what Pisco is prescribing is literally tyrannical, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if Ryan like refused to debate tons of people and called them, you know, tyrants, then maybe this would be a problem. But this doesn't appear to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, I just saw that he's now starting up his online campaign against me. So there we go.
Who, the guy in the chat or Pisco?
Pisco.
Oh.
So, you know, there we go. He can, whatever. He has some edited video up there that I'll have to watch later. But yeah, look, you know, this is the thing about this is like, we're now at the sticking point, right? Like, Trump's not going to be on the ballot in 28. The boogeyman's gone. But are the Dems going to say like, okay, let's all return to normal? Or are they saying like, we deserve our pound of flesh, we deserve to punish you, we deserve to do all the things that we said that we were going to do? And you know, I guess I've never been a wedge issue voter before. This is kind of a first for me. I've never actually had a wedge issue, but this is a wedge issue for me. You know,
congratulations, Pisco. You made Ryan a single issue voter.
Yeah, like if the Dems are considering court packing, I will vote red for. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine like the level of
irony in there, actually. Yeah, because it's funny because you make the point that I think gives you some credibility, not enough because they still want to hit you over the head with it. But you have this card that you can pull out of your pocket, which is, I voted for Trump 0 times. But I think to your point, had they been talking like this leading up to the 2024 election, you would have pulled the trigger on Trump. Like you're saying, this is actually consequential enough and in fact more dangerous than what they have accused Trump of doing or what he has actually done, right? Out in the public. Yeah, to your point, this is significantly more dangerous. And I think too, like, it is a little I get why you didn't want to go down this road, because I do think Pisco is being bad faith or unfair in the way that he's arguing this. But I actually think the state secession point, like, is an excellent one, and actually there's a much higher that's much higher in the possibility scale than people want to acknowledge if we were to pack the Senate in that way. If some of these states now legitimately had less representation and they're going to be forced to live in New York and California, right? Why would they not? Why would they not secede? And ironically, they can secede in a way that plugs in perfectly to the left-wing worldview, which is self-determination for a distinct culture. You know what I mean? Like they will have like all of the words, you know, using their own language. So yeah, I think like, again, I understand why you didn't go down that road with Pisco, because he's not in good faith even entertaining or engaging with these potential negative consequences. But I think like state secession is one of those things that sounds really crazy, but when you put it in the context of adding a bunch of states, you know, into the union and changing the Senate, that becomes like way more likely, way more possible, if not probable, at that point.
Well, I think this is the sort of thing, like when people talk about like a national divorce, like this is the sort of thing that gets you there. Like when you no longer feel like there is a chance of you being represented within a democracy. And by the way, like the American democracy, having a system this big, this is not typical. It doesn't typically work. When people talk about like, oh, England, they have this parliamentary system. It's so nimble.
They have 5 people.
Canada has this nimble system. It's like, yeah, all 25 million of them, right? Like, you know, to have a system this big, you have to have limited federalism. You have to have localized government so people can live differently. It can't be the case that people in Alabama have to live like people in California, because it's just never going to work. It's never going to work.
I think you described that beautifully. I think it was in your conversation with Connor this morning, where you said essentially like, why would these states have ever joined the union if they didn't have these protections from the start? Why would they have ever joined something that was just completely out of their self-interest? And to your point, Americans and people who have bought into this system, they can mentally manage their disappointment and frustration, knowing that in 4 years, maybe in 8 years at the maximum, they will have a chance, right?
Yeah.
To redress their concerns and to have their, you know, someone who better represents them in politics. If they make these changes, which will effectively box out Republicans from holding power for an indefinite amount of time, then yes, that is actual disenfranchisement. You know, that is what it means. Yeah.
It's the thing they keep accusing Republicans of doing, but Republicans actually never actually did. Right?
But then all signs point to them not seeing the emergency as over. They still are talking about it like it's emergency. And you'll, like I said, you see it was Trump, and then it's MAGA, and then it's Republican Party. And that's like kind of like the line that they're taking.
Yeah.
That's how they justified it before. That's how they justify the language. And that's how people like who are like never Trump Republicans, like, you know, Trump was such an emergency, and now it's okay. Well, MAGA's the emergency, and now it's the whole party's like in shambles, so I have to vote Democrat now. So it doesn't look like it's changing.
The emergency is also like people in the Democratic Party that they see as not sufficiently hostile to Trump. That's how much the emergency has spread, that now their ops include people on their side who with a voting record of 100% for Democratic policies and all of these things. Those people are now part of the enemy because they are not rhetorically tough enough on Trump and people who are, you know, anywhere to the right of them.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, and there has to be some sanity to these proceedings and some upper limit on what the power grab's gonna look like. But you're totally right. Remember when DeSantis looked like he might beat Trump, and we started seeing all the articles about how DeSantis is just Trump but worse, right? You'll see the same.
Zero Fucks just made that same point, right? Even between 2020 and 24, there were articles about DeSantis and Elon Musk being the next Trump. Right.
And whoever the next Republican is will be the next Trump. And I am working on Connor a little bit here, because I'm like, all right, Connor, you can. I do believe Connor has social conservative tendencies, but like Trump's been on the scene since 2016. I don't know that you can call yourself right leaning if you openly campaign for the left for over a decade. At a certain, it's kind of like at a certain point, you live where you live, you know. So we'll see. Yeah, Connor certainly had a run recently.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I have like a. For me, this is like I have a little bit of a weird perspective on this. I have a good relationship with Connor. Destiny fucking hates me. So there actually is no choice here for me to make, you know, like I'm like, like why would I bother siding with Destiny, who calls me a MAGA cocksucker whenever he talks about me on stream? Yeah, that's the guy that I'm that's the guy I'm backing. No, like, you know, so, you know, I hope Connor is doing well, but obviously this drama thing is getting a little out of hand.
Yeah. Well, that's where it makes me the cuck, because Destiny also refers to me as that Jew girl who hates trans people, and the Israel Firster MAGA, whatever. Yeah. But I just like, I think the situation is more complicated, and so I will defend him, even despite the fact that he's been so personally hostile to me. But yeah, no, and listen, the drama sucks for Kay and I, because we also like Connor too, and see him as part of, like, I mean, I think that all three of us are to the right of Connor in some meaningful ways, but I still see him as like part of my political project, taking everything he says at face value, that he does want, he wants the return of a Republican Party, right? Then he is part of the group that I want to move with.
Yeah, I get that, and I agree. That's why I spent so much time talking with him, in part because I think we have interesting conversations in part. But I agree with that. I do think, you know, I mean, obviously, be fair, follow your heart in all these things. You know, I don't have any interest in defending Destiny at this point.
You shouldn't, you know, either. By the way, it will bring you nothing. It will bring you nothing but headaches.
Yeah, but I cannot, like, and I'll just say this, like, I don't even care about defending Destiny. Like,
it's the principle.
I've spoken to Destiny a handful of times, and that's it. But I can just not like what Connor's doing all on its own, like outside of that. Some of the way that this is unfolding, I could find objectionable, and that's all. And I don't want to, like, overly, you know what I mean, beat the horse with do the horse and the stick thing, whatever it is. But you can not like the whole thing.
My 2 cents, this is just me psychoanalyzing, and I haven't even watched all the content, so it's very possible I'm missing huge pieces of it. But to me, the moment where Connor was like, okay, fuck this, is when he tried to say to Destiny, like, bro, can't you admit that it's possible that people on the internet just hate you because of your sexual degeneracy and all the terrible things you do? And that could be a sufficient enough reason. And Destiny's like, no. And Connor's like, oh, come on. You know, like, because, you know, like, I could see Connor fucking snap, because he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, but I get Destiny's position on this. Well, and especially position on this. So
it was also the context of the conversation. They're in a three-way call with one of Destiny's arch enemies on the internet, someone who, you know, like, has spent a ton of time and money to talk negatively about Destiny publicly and privately.
He reached out to me the other day during the debate.
Yeah, I heard you say that on stream. Yeah. And so like, in almost a similar way to how you were not going to engage in good faith with Pisco because you knew, you know, like, I know that's not a perfect one-to-one analogy, but I think there's something similar there, which is like, again, if the two of them were talking, it was just like, for the question to be turned on you, can you understand why people would hate you for good reasons in the context of a conversation of, like, all of these people? I can understand why Destiny went that route. But and Kay and I already commented on this today for like 40 minutes after we said we weren't going to comment on it.
I'm sorry to bring you back.
No, it's fine. But our position is essentially, like, Connor is well within his rights, and maybe it's even prudent to distance himself from Destiny, to draw those lines and whatever. It's doing it
100%.
all in public. And then also, by the way, at the time when he was saying, which is a week ago at the time, 1 week ago, when he was saying, like, can't you just acknowledge all this? He was also saying, I still love Destiny. He's still my friend. The door is still open on my end. So it was like, that's probably not how you deal with a friend in that scenario. The whole thing could have just also just been taken offline, put in a private Discord call. Like, there were just many other potential remedies that would not have required Connor changing his position or making any exception or whatever.
Okay, but hold on. Just I need to say one thing. Yes, there are reasons for people to not like Destiny. There's tons of reasons to not like anybody, but like I don't think that there's good reasons to like obsessively follow and track and like compulsively talk and post about somebody who you don't like what they're doing. Like, there's just no way that level of investment in a character or a person on the internet to that degree that these people seem to be invested in his life, that there is no good reason for that. No matter what he's doing, because that is obsessive. So when Connor's asking him, can you see why they don't like you? Destiny's not like, why they just don't like me. I think he's interpreting it like, don't you see that they have reason to be as obsessed with you and not like you to the extent that they do? And I would have to say, I think that's completely unhinged, and that there really isn't a good way to to defend that kind of investment in like your hatred for a streamer, because that's like, it's not healthy for anyone, right? Like that can't be. This is not.
I totally agree about that. Like, there's I'm not in any way saying that, like, like the snarking or like the doxing, certainly, or like the a-logging, or it's like a rational response, and like that. This is all above and beyond. I guess where I'm getting at is, I don't know if you ever had this situation where you're talking, like a friend's talking, and like something because of your friendship, and they're just like lying, and they're putting you in a very bad position, and you're looking at them like, are you really gonna do this? Like, you're making me eat shit here for the friendship. Like, are you really gonna do this? And I don't know whether Connor was right or wrong. I know nothing about these people. And by the way, I don't want to know anything about these people. I don't care to learn. I'm not going to learn these facts. So whatever. But when I looked at Connor's face, that's what I saw, where he's just like, are you really going to put me in this position where I either have to start like giving details, or I just have to eat shit while you say no one on the internet could possibly hate you for the horrible shit that you very obviously do all the time? Like, and that's, I guess maybe I'm also sensitive because, like, I did that in-person debate with Destiny, and I was like, I'm going to start a channel. And then it was like the Pixie shit dropped the next day. And I was like, oh, I'm a professional lawyer. And now my face is next to this guy who's being accused of like revenge porn and pedophilia or whatever the fuck he's being accused of at that time. It kind of narrowed up. But back then it was like all over the map. And like, it's like, okay, that sucks. So anyway, sure. I'm sensitive to where Connor's coming from, because I think he got put in a really bad spot. Now, I don't know that Destiny
he kind of spot, but I would say he kind of put himself in that spot by again, that was the saddest part, I think, of everyone who was like watching live on that first Friday. And the frustration, I think, too, is like a lot of the people who were pushing back on Connor in this way are like mods and people in his chat who care a lot about him and are way more partial to him than Destiny and all of that. In fact, many of them who disagree with Destiny politically and morally, whatever. But there was so much of that which is just like, it did not need to get here. It did not need to keep progressing. And if it was going to progress, it did not need to be public. So I think I appreciate that you said that, Ryan, because that is a good, because like when you say that, yes, we can all relate to that time where you're with a friend or a family member where you know something that you only know because of your private relationship with them that they are misrepresenting. But I don't think that like the conversation needed to happen in that way. So I don't know that I agree that Connor's hand was forced entirely in that way. And I think even then, like, it wouldn't have been satisfying, but there's still a way at that point to say, you know what? I'm not going to go down this road because it would require me, you know, burning you and burning some other people that don't want to be involved in this. But I'm sorry, you're full of shit. And this is where I draw my line. That too would have been totally acceptable, fine, justified.
Yeah.
And at least that doesn't involve. And again, I said, you said you don't know all the details on these extra players, but there are now like 2 new players. There are 2 new characters who joined because Connor put their information out there basically in the last week who were not already part of this. And so I again, I appreciate you saying that because I do think that's a good point. And yes, I can relate to that feeling being that friend or family member. And it's not a good position to be in. And again, I said this earlier in the stream. I think Connor's really sincere in his feelings of friendship and like love for Destiny. And again, for the people who are saying, Connor, you should have done this privately and not publicly, it seems that he did do this privately back in November. So all of these things help Connor's point. I don't like the way it all went down.
It's very gossipy, right? It's very like it's very like
very gossipy.
8th grade girl in its character, where there's kind of like, you know, it's like it's people. You could normally these conversations aren't recorded, right? So it's like you're talking with somebody and they're just like, oh, do you know what he did? Do you know what he did? And they just start like telling you some crazy shit. You know, it reminds me of those conversations where there's like, you know, people, and I think in high school I remember conversations like this where people were like, you know, reporting the lurid details of somebody, and sometimes it was true, oftentimes it was exaggerated or whatever. And it certainly has that vibe to it. One way or the other.
This is like the meme.
I remember being in like a mom group and like there'd be like drama like this, and I was like, oh wow, like the internet moms have nothing on the fucking politics streamers. Holy shit. Yeah.
Holy fuck. Yeah. Well, and then the other problem
who would have thought?
It's Destiny, right? Like my priors are so low. Like, you know, like when somebody's like, oh, like, did you hear Destiny blew Fuentes? I'm like, I mean, I don't think the video actually shows that, but you know, probably. Like, you know, I mean, like,
past him.
Like
legitimately couldn't put it past him.
I'm not like, like, it's not like anyone, and whenever anyone says anything about Destiny, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's unreasonable. Like I would, that guy, oh, he'd never, right? So, but that's why it becomes this like nasty stew, right? Because it's like if somebody gives you a rumor, you know, it's not like, so you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna stand up for him on this ground. I will laugh though. And by the way, Doobie, I'm not talking shit about you. I don't know you, and I'm not turning down, you know, like if you want to talk, I'll talk. But like he messaged me and he was like, he's like, did you know this guy's talking shit about you? And I was like, Destiny? And he's like, yeah. I was like, what the fuck else is new? Like Destiny's never mentioned my name without talking shit about me. Like I'm sure he is. Yeah. You know.
Okay. Well, we're talking shit about Doobie. Wow. Doobie is not welcome.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I don't know him at all, other than he's in Wick's streams and Connor's streams.
Yeah. I'm just saying he has some takes on the Jews and on Israel that are questionable enough that's just
he also runs a politics
and he's like the CSAM Batman, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
This is why I was confused when he reached out to me, because I was like, wait, from what little I do know about you, aren't you the frog who has completely diametrically opposed views to me politically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yes. Yes. And Doobie also runs a politics server that he self-describes as containing a bunch of pedophiles and perverts. This is his description of his Discord server, in which he explicitly allows underage people to be a part of. He says that it wouldn't be fair to them to deprive them of the access of political conversation. And he also tags them with a minor tag so that all of the pedophiles in the chat will have easy access to figure out who the minors in the chat are. He also said that he's caught multiple pedophiles in his Discord server abusing underage girls, and that he made sure to take screenshots of the pictures and messages, and sometimes he would even get the password from these young underage girls so he could take over their account so that he could get all the information to pass it along to the FBI. So there's some sketchy stuff going on in Doobie's closet as well. It's like stones and glass houses and all that. And that says nothing to do with, the political divide that we all have with Doobie anyway. So I think he's a nefarious actor. He's free to do whatever he wants. And of course, you're free to take money and you should get that bag, Ryan. But those are our general feelings on Doobie.
I mean, I'm a capitalist. Oh. I'm willing to take the bag. I found it interesting because I was like, the only things I really know about him is that obviously I heard he hates Destiny because of this discourse, and I've seen him donate with like very left leaning political opinions to different shows. And when he reached out to me, I was like, huh, like that's you must really hate Destiny because like that it's not a natural synergy. Let's put it that way. But then again, like his views don't line up with Connor's. Actually, Connor's
no. Well, because
Connor's pretty left leaning.
No. But but Doobie's also not exactly left leaning. That's the thing. Doobie, in some ways, he's got heterodox views. But Doobie's an instigator. It's like you said, why did he show up in your DMs to tell you that people are talking shit? Because he wants to fan the flames of this fire bigger. That's what he is. He's an instigator.
Doobie also told me,
Doobie also told me that although he doesn't think it's good and he would not prescribe vigilante murder in the street, if I were murdered on the basis of being a Zionist, it would be understandable because that is genocidal Nazi ideology. So that's Doobie defended the justification for murdering the two Israeli embassy workers outside of the Jewish museum. So yeah, I've got lots of beef with and for.
He may not have seen
Doobie.
my conversation with PF Young.
That'll trigger him.
Okay.
That'll legitimately trigger him.
Well, I have been appropriately warned.
He's been in Paul's chat too. So
I don't need to I don't need to poison the well about the guy, but I've been appropriately warned. Well, I'm probably going to start wrapping up my evening, but I did want to jump in and chat with y'all. And by the way, like the stream, help it grow. Getting the watch hours over the critical threshold is like a huge pain in the ass. And it's awesome that you all are doing this. And I hope that people are liking your stream and giving it a watch so that you can get your numbers up and the algorithm starts favoring you.
No, thank you for jumping on. And it's no surprise that our chat is populated like 75% with mods from your chat. So we love the crossover.
I know. I popped in and I was like, wait a minute, you lazy
like, I know
sons
everyone
of bitches.
here.
What are you doing here?
But no, this is good timing. I need to go pick up my car. It was just getting serviced. So this is good timing for us to wrap up. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
See you later.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Tali.
Yes.
We will wrap up now too. So thank you guys for coming and have a good one. We will talk on Tuesday.
And just sleep watching the streams. Just go to sleep watching the streams. You can even turn the volume off, but get us those watch hours, guys.
Yeah, put a stream on in the background. Give it a like, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you guys soon. And see you later. Have a good weekend.